Hello and welcome to another Satchel Pulse Wellbeing webinar. My name is Jon Tait. I'm your host for this Wellbeing webinar. I'm a Deputy CEO of a multi-academy trust up in North Yorkshire. I'm an education author, a writer, speaker, podcast host, blogger, and hopefully I will be able to give you lots of experience from my 25 years in education on wellbeing and how you can kind of lead at whatever stage you are, whether you are an executive leader, head teacher, senior leader, middle leader, phase leader, subject leader, irrespective of whether it's non-teaching staff or teaching staff. Hopefully some of the things I'll be able to talk to you about today and any of the webinars that we have done with Satchel will be able to make a big difference to your daily work and practice, and things that you can lead on, very practical things that you can put in place the very next day. If you have seen one of these webinars before, you will notice that it's a familiar kind of format where I'll dive into the Satchel Pulse Wellbeing Tracker, where Satchel have created 8 different pillars where they've kind of divided up really wellbeing and what it means, and lots of different reflection questions that you can start asking yourself as leaders, and then start to ask the staff as well, to start to think, well, where are we with this, and are we doing this effective? I will then also give you 2 practical strategies that I have kind of come up with that I think will be really useful, that I've kind of seen used before in the schools that I've kind of worked in, that you can put in place and that you can use to hopefully improve the wellbeing. Now, if you have already used some of those strategies, then this is still really useful, because it's about, well, you might have used it before, but are you still doing it? And actually, if you're doing it, how well are you doing it? So actually evaluating and reflecting on how well are you doing these things, not just we've ticked it off and we've done it. Is it making an impact on the well-being of your staff, which is ultimately what we are all here to listen to and to talk about. So let me dive into the Satchel Pulse. I'll just share my screen a second. And we're going to be talking about today meaningful work, which is in the middle here of the pillars here. And for me, it's really important to think about kind of meaningful work, because actually lots of teaching staff come into the profession not necessarily because it's the highest paid salary that they would be able to achieve, but because it actually means something to them, because it's meaningful, and because it's something that they really want to kind of drive forward, because it makes a difference to them personally and professionally, that they are making a difference in the community, they're making a difference, across the world. And actually, we know that this is a real driver for a lot of teachers. But we've got to do something, to make that happen, because just because people come in because they want their work to be meaningful doesn't mean to say that it becomes meaningful. We need to make sure that we do something to get it to that point. So let's have a look. If I just jump into the meaningful work section, and I'm just going to drop down here and click on the all questions. Okay, so if you are familiar with the Satchel Wellbeing Tracker, you will notice that there are lots of questions on the left-hand side. There's some reflection questions on the right. If you're not, I'll take you through these now. So if I just go to the first one, I see myself as a valuable member of my workplace. So on the right-hand side, there are some bullet points to think about in your team, or your phase team, your senior leadership team, to think, well, how well are we doing these things, and what would our staff say in answer to that question? The first bullet point there is, do staff members see their role as being important in the development of the school, or is it just a job? How are they valued? How are they shown they are valued? Is it privately or is it in public? And is there a culture of valuing staff that filters down and into the different schools and departments? So lots of things to think about there in terms of picking that apart and thinking about how do staff see that this is? Yes, we might value them. Of course we value them. But what do they perceive, and how are they seen? How do they see this happen? Do they see it privately? Is it public? If I just go down a little bit further, I value my work in supporting young people's learning. So do other people value the work of staff, and how is it shown? And have there been any external influences to devalue the work in schools? So actually, and it's saying there, what is the media being saying? So actually, is there a political issue at the moment in terms of actually that teachers are generally not perceived to be kind of that important in the grand scheme of things? Is there some external influences in your community that are actually saying that your school's not very good, or your teachers are not? Are there those things that are happening that are starting to suppress that kind of that positive attitude in your school? And what can we do about those things? So it's important to understand that wider picture, that yes, we've got teachers coming in who want to do really valuable work, but if lots of these things are going on around them, and there's lots of these kind of messages and noise that are saying that you're not valuable and we don't think you're doing a good job, then at some point that's going to have a negative effect. So we need to be aware of that, and we need to be able to do something about it. I scroll down a bit further. This one's interesting. I'm proud to work in my school or my department. So do the students have a sense of pride to be at their school? And how does this show staff? And how can this be used to move staff's thinking on? So actually, if the students aren't bothered and the students have no pride in their, in their work or the fact that they're at school, then actually the staff aren't probably going to feel that either. So it's that mutual kind of, pride in everything we do that starts to shine through. And if I just go up one, actually, and I've just spotted this one here, I feel I have a positive impact on my students' education. And that's ultimately what I said at the start about why a lot of people come into teaching, because it's that vocation that they feel that it's part of a bigger picture and something that's not just a job. It's about that. It's about something bigger. So thinking about the things then to the bullet points here that we can reflect on. Are the positives of the school celebrated with all the staff and not just the educators? So actually, is it about all the staff? Is it about the non-teaching staff? Actually, all of the people in your building, from the site staff to the front reception, to the cleaners, to the teachers, to the head teacher, everyone in that building, the people in the kitchen, everyone gets that school to where it needs to be, and they're all part of those results. But is that shared with everyone at the end of the year, or is it just shared with the people who you think are actually the people that have driven that forward? Well, actually, every single person. The person that unlocks the door in the morning, the person who puts the heating on, the person who puts the food on the plates. If none of that's happening, then actually we're never going to get to that point. So we need to make sure we involve everyone in those celebrations. I move down a little bit. The staff here have high expectations for all the students. So does the school district have, or it says school district, school trust, organisation, MAT, do they have high expectations of the students? And is it communicated well? So, where are we at that? Do we really feel that that's consistent across the whole school? Next one down. Day to day, I feel my work is appreciated. So actually, are there robust systems to show that appreciation day by day in the workplace is happening, and are they effective? Some great questions to think about. And I think that's why I really like this toolkit, because it really gives you that opportunity to take a step back and to think about actually, what would our staff say here? And what would their responses be? And what are we doing to kind of make these things happen? Because we can't just hope that our staff are going to be engaged and are going to have great well-being. We've got to do things for that. So on that point, and a great segue, I will just go into my presentation in terms of what we can do. Here are a couple of things that I think might work that are really useful, that I've seen work before, and I've seen work really, really well. So the first one is thank you videos. So what is it then? Well, when you hear a thank you message from a child or a parent, it can make a huge difference to staff, absolutely huge difference, and it can be worth their weight in gold. And yes, people say, "Oh, thank you," but that really meaningful, heartfelt kind of thank you is great. And I found a great way to do this in that school I was in was recording that quick thank you message from the student or from the parent on camera for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. It is amazing, because it might be shared, it might be about one member of staff, but it can be shared wider, and it talks about the school and what the school have done. So how to do it then? What do we need? Best thing to do, I think, is to set up a camera or video booth on kind of results day. And if you're a secondary school, this might be GCSE, it might be A-level results, it might be the end of year in the end of year 6 in terms of SATs, or the last day of the year, and just giving people the opportunity to come in front of a camera and just say thank you. And that might be the student themselves, it might be the student and the parent, it might be just the parent themselves. But that opportunity to have that available, and you kind of publicize it beforehand. So we're having this opportunity. We'd love people to come in and do it, or you grab people on the way out. People who say, "Oh, I can't thank you enough for what you've done. Would it be great? Would you mind just saying that in front of the camera for 2 minutes? Because I'd love to share that with our staff." And it's those moments are absolutely gold for showing your staff how much they are worth and why they've come into that, and really making their work completely meaningful. So all you need really is a camera, set up a room, a quiet room, and maybe just leave it running and not have anybody in there, because people might think I don't want to say it in front of people, or they get embarrassed. Just have it running and let it go in. And what I found is that the best way to do that is, if it's on results day as well in a secondary school, as quick as possible after they've opened their results, because you get all that emotion flowing and those kind of tears on camera and that really heartfelt thank yous. It's just beautiful, and it's like nothing else you've ever seen before. And when you play it to your staff, there's not a dry eye in the house, and people remember, this is why I came into this business, this is why I came into teaching, this is why I do this meaningful work. So very easy to do, but extremely powerful. What to avoid then? Avoid just picking the kids on results that got the highest results, because it's not about them sometimes. It's about the kids that have had the struggles. It's about the kids that have gone through the mire, and it's those kids that have got a story behind them sometimes that haven't necessarily achieved the highest results. So yes, it might be nice to get a few of those kids in front of camera, but actually it's the ones that have got the stories, and that's where the most emotion comes out normally, certainly from the parents as well, in terms of the struggles that they've maybe had to get to that point. And those thank yous, thank you, it is absolutely amazing. So yeah, just to avoid thinking it's all about the high flyers. And how to take it further then, sharing the clips around. Once you've got those short thank you clips, you're putting them all together for the first day back on September, when people are coming back in, and suddenly being able to say, we just want to say, well, we don't want to say thank you. The community wants to say thank you, and sharing those back is absolutely amazing. But I've said there, make sure you've got the tissues that are ready, because there will not be a dry eye in the house. Also, reach out to your alumni as well. It's not just about the kids that are in the building right now, but it might be that you've got people that have left 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, who you might be able to contact, who will be able to say, I just want to thank the school so much, because the position I'm in now and the thing I'm doing now, or the thing that's allowed me to do this, was really driven by the school or by this teacher, or so I want to say thank you now as an adult. And so that can be quite nice as well. So just think about how you can take that a little bit wider and deeper, rather than just people that are currently leaving your school. Okay, the second one then that relates to kind of alumni that you said there is about having like an alumni and destinations kind of strategy about, well, how can we then use this? Again, you might have this, but is it having an impact on the well-being, and is it having an impact on staff understanding they're doing meaningful work? And that's where you need to link these things together. So wouldn't it be great for staff to know that the grades that they've helped those kids get have been instrumental in them moving on into the next stages of their kind of career path, whether that's to secondary school, whether that's to a sixth form college, whether that's to work, whether that's to university, or whether that's to a job. But actually, wouldn't it be great for staff to suddenly realize that, yeah, it was really meaningful for me to get them through that maths grade, because it hasn't allowed them to do this. If you don't know what they're going to next, it doesn't feel like meaningful. It's just a grade. It's just an entry on a spreadsheet somewhere. When you talk about an actual real life and a person, then starts to make the difference. So the question there is, how many of your staff actually know where those students go on to? And wouldn't it be great for them to kind of understand that? So by keeping an alumni record of destinations, you can then start to then be able to talk to people and show people how they've made a difference in that student's life by getting them to that next stage, rather than just they got this grade when we don't know what they've done with it. So what do we need then? Well, ultimately we just need to establish an alumni portal, I've called it there, where you can keep in contact with people once they've left your building at whatever age or phase or stage. And if you certainly get to kind of secondary, college, university, you can start to collect email addresses, and you can be in touch with them, and they can quickly fill out an update form of just where they are. And it only takes them 20 seconds to fill out where they are, what they've done. And you can kind of keep that as a record. So then you can start to share that with staff, so that you can then, again, it's not just about keeping it and you keeping the records and saying, I know where they are. That doesn't matter. It's how do we then share that to other people, so they can go, oh wow, it's amazing, she's able to go on and do that. And I remember when we was really struggling to get that English GCSE, and now she's gone on to do that. That's what really makes the difference. And that's what gets you through the hard times as teachers, to know that it's going to be the next stepping stone for these people, because it's real life. What to avoid then? Don't get stressed about not getting everyone. There's always going to be some students that you're not going to get in, so don't worry about it being incomplete. Every story you get back will be useful to someone and inspirational to someone. So use what you get back. Don't worry about not getting a full return. You're never going to get a full return of anything, and you'll know that by now anyway, from working in schools for long enough as we have. And finally then, how to take it further. Instead of relying on students telling you after they've left, why not have like something set up on results day when they leave, so they have to fill it out before they get their results. Where are you going? What are you hoping to do next year? Write it down here, please, before we give you your results. You've got that information, rather than trying to collect it after they've left your building, which is very difficult. Get it before they leave. And finally, maybe even establishing an alumni society where you can ask publicly for people who are, adults and professionals who've been to your school before, and putting out in the public that you want to create this alumni society to find all the wonderful and weird ways that people have used their education to go on into their wider lives. And that's a really nice way of doing that. So you collect all that information, and you then start to build up that, which can potentially lead to some events. People come into school, and you'll probably be able to get a lot from those alumni as well, who can give something back to the school as well. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen. Right, hopefully that has been useful. Hopefully there's things there that you have, either if you've used them before, you can reflect on and think, are we doing it really well, or and how effective are we doing these things? There might be things that you've seen and you think, well, we used to do that. Why don't we do that anymore? Or there might be things that you've thought, wow, we've never done that, and I've never seen that before. We need to start doing that. So hopefully that has given you at least one or two ideas or different ways of doing things that you're already doing things. And if it's been useful, then I hopefully will see you in some of the other webinars. And if you've not seen any of the webinars before, go back and look at the different webinars that we've done, all the different 8 pillars of wellbeing that Satchel have identified. And hopefully you'll be able to get a whole toolbox of ideas and strategies that you can use to develop, promote, and help the wellbeing of your staff in your organization. So, thank you.